Oh my goodness, I see that we are live. It says upcoming. How to green screen. How pleasant.
Yep, so we're live on the YouTube.
Most excellent.
Yep. And let me
Oh,
just check one thing here, just to make sure we're live. Yep, and we're live on the homepage. Very good.
all right.
Okay, let me get out of this. I need to record this on my. Okay, go ahead and hit it any time.
All right. Well, give me 1 second here. I'm just pulling up the little livey thing so I can see it here. And then we'll get started in just one moment. For those of you joining us live, get ready. It's going to be exciting. We're going to have a lot of fun things for all you cool cats out there. We'll be talking about green screen today. Oh my goodness. And now it's asking me to verify with my phone just to be able to watch make sure the stream is going here. Unbelievable. YouTube and Google, Facebook, they've been doing this to me like all day for the last 2 days, actually. Everything I'm normally in, they've signed me out of, and it's not cool. It's not cool, man.
Don't worry. We will start the program this year.
But we might. All right, there we go. Okay, are we ready? Steve, are you ready yet? All right, here we go. We're going to start the show on green screening right now. Here we go. In 5, 4. On today's episode of Video Marketing Madness, we're going to be discussing how to use green screen, and that includes all the tools that you'll need, the software, and why you would want to use a slightly more advanced form of video. It's going to be worth it. And today's episode is made possible by our good friends over at Movo. Now, if you haven't checked out Movo lately, Movo has a ton of really cool things like microphones, lights, and stands, but they have something brand new, Steve, that I'm kind of excited about, and I think a lot of people will be as well. Have you seen those wireless microphones that everybody's using nowadays? They're kind of big.
Yeah, with the dead cat on top.
Yeah, sometimes it does have the little dead cat on top of there. There's a lot of people freaking out right now. That's just a little wind muff. But yeah, they look like larger than normal lapel microphones, but they don't have any actual transmitter. The transmitter is in the actual microphone. Well, Movo has their own version of that now. Back a while ago, probably 6 or 8 months ago, I ordered a generic set of those from China for about $7. And surprisingly, it was pretty good. The range was incredible. Like, I was able to pick up from across the parking lot. The only problem was whenever you said the letter S, it kind of like crackled a little bit. So it wasn't the best microphone in the world, but Movo now has their version of that. A little more expensive than $7, but still very affordable depending upon which version you get. You can get one with 2 microphones or one with one microphone. And I think like the starter one with 1 microphone and the receiver for the phone, I think it was like $35 or $38, something like that. So it's a really cool item. I haven't actually gotten to use it yet, but based on the $7 Chinese knockoff that I used, which was still pretty darn good, this one should be fantastic with that Movo sound quality and whatnot. But they have all sorts of great things, from microphones and stands, lights, as we mentioned. So be sure to go and check them out at raysuggests.com/Movo. And with that, let's hit the music. This is where we pretend to play music for a second, for those of you watching live. Be sure to post in the chat, by the way, if you'd like to.
And it's the radio show about video marketing madness with Ray, the video guy, and I'm Steve Sleeper. And green screening.
Green screening is
you
the
do a
place.
lot of that. I don't do much, occasionally from time to time, but I've got just something I put behind me, one of those pop-up deals, and call it good. But
yep. And I have one of those. In fact, I don't know about the one you have, Steve. The one I have is actually pretty large, pop-up one. I mean, it's big. It's a big one.
Yeah.
In the last 10 years, well, I've probably owned it for more than 10 years, probably owned it for closer to 20 years by now. I still have no idea how to fold that thing up. If I use it, it's going to stay open until my wife comes over and folds it up for me because I can't figure it out. I've never been able to figure out how to wrap that thing back up.
I can unfold mine and then I just put it on my tripod and put it behind me and it just barely covers the back.
No, this one that I have is like 5 feet tall and 3
Oh
feet
my
wide.
goodness.
It's
No.
huge.
I don't have
So,
that.
but yeah, I can't, you have to like bend it a certain way and then twist it and it all goes together and then it fits in a little bag and I can't figure it out. I've never been able to figure it out. I actually, I actually drove home one time with the giant green screen crammed in the back seat of my little car. And yeah, drove home with it like that because I couldn't figure out how to fold it up. We'll figure. But
Oh,
they can be
well.
very, very useful, those little things. I like them.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But there is obviously a lot of different tools you can use for creating green screens. In fact, when we used to have our office, which was about 5 miles down the road from here, in that office, I actually was able to paint an entire wall green with the chroma key paint, which was awesome. Loved that because now you had floor to ceiling, 7 or 8 feet wide, and I could do almost anything I wanted with that. That was really, really cool. And I wish I had a place inside the escape room here. We got a lot more space in the escape room, but not a lot of big spots inside there where we could actually do that, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would love to do that here and do that because that was great. The chroma key paint is a great way to do that if you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Green screens.
Yes,
I'll get
sir.
green screen.
I'll take green screen for 500, Pat. All right. Well, I guess it wouldn't be Pat. Dang, I screwed that up. What am I going to do now, Steve? All right. Anyway, yeah, so those are just a couple of the types of green screens that you can use. My personal favorite right now is actually there's a bunch of different companies that make it. Realistically, there's probably one company that makes it and a bunch of people slap their logos on it and sell them on Amazon. But they're those, have you seen those, Steve? They're kind of like the reverse of those when you're in school, then they would pull down the maps, or they'd pull down the.
Oh,
the
yeah.
movie.
Yeah. I've seen
It's
those.
like the opposite of that. They come from the ground. So you lay this thing on the ground and you pull the green screen up behind you and it's got the backbone behind it that holds it up. Love that thing. Love it, love it, love it. It's fairly easy to tote around with you. It's not super heavy. It gives you a beautiful green screen. And back in the day, one of the kind of well-known video companies that would sell stuff on Amazon and whatnot sold that. And it was like, I want to say it was like $1,000.
Oh,
And I was like,
really?
oh yeah, maybe we'll get one. I'll think about getting one. And eventually I finally went back to look and now there's like, 30 other people selling these ones and you can get them for like 100 to 150 bucks.
Yeah. Okay.
They're
Yeah.
fantastic. I got the extra long one because I wanted to have a little more space because they have ones that are, maybe like 4 feet wide and you just put them up behind you. But I got the one that's a little bigger than that because I wanted to be able to move back and forth a little bit, or if I had to have 2 people standing side by side, we could do that. But love it. So there's a lot of options. And this day and age, it's so much easier to do it with the software that even people are doing these things just by using one of those green cloths and hanging it behind them and still getting
Mhm.
pretty good results. In fact, I've ordered many green screens from spokespersons around the country, and some of the spokespeople that are well known for doing the type of work that they do, even they are using these pinup, little, that I don't want to say bed sheets. They're thicker than bed sheets, but they're basically
sheets,
cloths.
yeah.
That are green screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and it does a great job. And the software is so good, it doesn't even matter. You just click a couple buttons and you're going to do pretty good. To do it really well, there are some things you need to do, but most people can get away with it and the software is going to help out.
You know what my kind of downfall with green screening is, although if you looked at it, it's okay, but lighting. I just put a ring light on it, and I do have some issues I need to deal with in editing, but that's the huge deal, I think, is the lighting, getting the right color green and then the lighting.
Yeah. So and that's a huge part of it. I mean, what we're doing is photography or videography. Videography really is just photography. But what does that mean? It means light. And that's what you got to give it. You got to give it the right light because essentially what you're doing is, okay, Time to put on the science hat, folks. Here we go. So essentially, the way that an image is created when it comes to video, and this is similar in film. Film is a little bit different. Film works in the exact opposite way as video. Video works on light, film works on pigment. And what I mean by that is literally film is an image painted onto a piece of Mylar that's then projected out. So it's actual green ink that's on there, for lack of a better term. And in video, it's the exact opposite. You're actually using RGB, which is red, green, blue. And the RGB means that you've got three different parts of the spectrum. And when you put R, G, and B together, three colors of light, you get white. Whereas in pigments, you've got red, yellow, blue, and when you put those together, you end up with black. So it works exactly the opposite. And when you're doing the green screen, what you're essentially doing is you are taking out that green channel, or at least a portion of that green channel. And the reason that it's green is because the human face does not have a lot of green in it. So it makes it, if you take green out of there, you may affect their clothing. Their clothing that was, blue may look like a slightly different shade of blue now, but their face is going to basically stay the same color. Now in film, in the old days, they always called it blue screening. And the reason for that is the exact opposite, is that in film, you've got red, yellow, blue. So you can't take yellow out. That's definitely going to be in people's faces. Red is definitely going to be in people's faces. So they have to go with blue and do it that way. But whenever you do that, you are essentially taking away a portion of that data to make that video. So you are removing something out of there. So that is kind of destructive, but if you do it properly, if you light things properly, you can narrow down the amount that you're taking out of there. And what I mean by that is if your green screen is lit evenly so that it's basically one color, and you're never going to get one color. It's always going to be, this area is slightly darker, this area is slightly brighter. So you're going to get different shades of green as you light that up. But the closer you can get to evenly lighting that green screen, the less data you're going to be pulling out of your image, the less information. And so that's going to give you a better screen. It's going to look better. It's, if you don't light it properly, you can probably remove that entire green, but you're going to start seeing like fringing in people's hair and things like that. You're not going to get as clean a green screen. Big thing is light that green screen really well. Now, in a video that I just did the other day, the reason I wanted to talk about green screen today is because I did this video the other day where we were shooting out in the front room here, which is not a big room. It's not a studio. It is just basically a big office space. And for that particular video, we used 7 lights. So we used
seven lights?
7 lights, yes.
Wow.
Because we want to make sure that we light it as best we can. Now, the great thing about that is you put that into the video editor, you press, just go green screen, and it knows, and it just does it. I didn't have to make any adjustments or anything other than John, our intern cameraman, had everything looking a little blue. But other than that, it worked really good. So, but yeah, 7 lights. Now, what I had, and you don't have to use 7 lights. You can get away with different ways to do this. The reason that we do this is because we have that big pull-up screen. We got enough room that one important thing, if you can do it when you're doing a green screen, is bring the person away from that green background. And the reason for that is the closer they are to that background, the tougher it's going to be to screen properly because their hair is going to reflect green and they're going to have green, even if you can't really see it, the computer is going to see green in their hair, and then they're going to start losing that, or maybe on their shoulders and things like that. If you can separate the person from the background by moving them a little bit further away, then you can do that. But you need a wider green screen, or they're going to be, if they raise their hands, they're going to be off the green screen, and then you're not going to get a good shot. So you have to have a balance of those things. If you have a small green screen, you need to move a little closer. You got to deal with it. You just do it. But we separate a little further. And then what I have is I've got 2 really big box lights, soft lights, that I project onto that background. So that green screen gets those 2 big ones. And then I have 2 small LED lights that I actually put down at the bottom and just kind of fill in the bottom areas. Because even those big fill lights, they're not going to cover the whole screen. You're going to start seeing dark areas towards the bottom. So I use two LED lights that kind of just fill in those bottom areas. And that just gives you pretty good, coverage on the green screen. I'm a good friend of mine. He actually had a nice studio, and what he did was he had two giant lights way up above the green screen attached to the ceiling, and those would shoot down and hit the background. And then he had two that he put on the side. They were big, tall lights. They were actually fluorescent lights for photography, and they would fill it in, and that did a great job too. So those four lights filled just the background. Then I've got a key light and a fill light in front of me on either side of the camera. If you don't know what that is, a fill light is a softer light that kind of covers your face. The key light is a little bit brighter and more focused, and it kind of adds a little bit of harsher light to one side of your face. And then we have a backlight. And a backlight is a light that would be behind the person pointing at their back, the back of their head and their shoulders. And what that does is that just kind of highlights their shoulders and their head. And when you do that, it kills that green that might be spilling on there, and it really helps provide separation between you and the background. And so you can do a green screen pretty easily with that. So have I put you to sleep yet, Steve?
No, not yet. Give it
Good.
some time.
Yeah, so if I keep talking like that, we probably will put people to sleep. But it is information that is very effective. So you got to have some of the lighting. Now, one thing you can do is if you go to Amazon, by the way, you can buy, I said these 7 lights, you can buy packs of 3 really good photo lights for like $100 these days. So if you buy one of those nice backgrounds and you buy, let's say 2 sets, you really want to do it up with the lights, buy 2 sets of those 3-point lighting kits, you're in for less than $400, which it might sound like a lot of money, but you're going to use this forever. You're going to be able to use it for other things. It's not just for the green screening. The lights could be used for photo shoots of any kind. They could be used for video shoots of any kind. So they're going to be useful, but you don't want to spend the money on that yet. The other thing that you can do is you can kind of cheat the system a little bit by getting 2 of the big fill lights. And what you're going to do with those is you're going to put them in as the key light and the fill light. I'm trying to do it on camera here backwards. But what you're going to do is you're going to move them further away to the left and right side. Okay. And you're going to use those big lights to get the person on screen on either side, coming from the sides, and the background at the same time. Because you got a big fill light. And you want to put them to the sides, because what you don't want to do is put them close to the camera and have the person on the camera's shadow hitting the green screen, because that's going to throw things off. Can you deal with shadows and still do it? Yes, you can. You're going to have to put in a little bit extra work, probably, but you can still do it. But if you move those to the left and to the right a little bit, make sure they hit both the person and the background, you're going to get less shadows, because the shadows are going to be to the left and right more. And so they will either not hit the green screen at all, or they'll hit the far left and far right. And that's a lot easier to deal with. That makes sense? Hopefully that makes.
Yes.
Again, yeah, Amazon, the place to go for that. You can get these lights and things for, very, very cheap these days.
Right.
And one of the things, by the way, that I mentioned in my video that I did is the lights that I actually use now, the bulbs. And have I talked to you about these bulbs before, Steve?
The daylight bulbs, the big.
Well, yeah, I use all daylight. Just I like it better, and in case we're in a room that has daylight.
I've got some here. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Well, what I did was, for a while, I was getting fluorescent bulbs. They, like the curly Q bulbs you would put into a lamp at your house, only gigantic. Really, yes, one of those right there.
Like this one right here. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Occasionally, I was able to find those at a place like Home Depot, but pretty rare. Had to order them from Amazon. They were like, what, $40 a piece, something like that for those bulbs.
Sounds right. Yeah, I had to order mine online as well.
Yeah, so. And they're great. They're fantastic. They're fairly soft. You put them in a soft box, they're even softer. But be very careful. And if Will is watching right now or listening to this in the future, Will, who I used to do a lot of my shoots with, has broken more of those bulbs. He would breathe on them and they would shatter. Because if you drop one, forget it. Those things are so fragile. They will shatter into a million pieces. And, if you have any of the little ones in your house, the regular bulb-sized ones, you're supposed to get a hazmat unit according to the instructions of those things. You're supposed to get a hazmat unit. Imagine when you break one of those giant ones.
Well,
So,
the little ones, I couldn't find them in the hardware store last time we went to get light bulbs a month ago or so. So
well, they're
that
kind
might
of
be the
getting
reason
replaced
why.
by all the LED stuff now and whatnot,
Right, right.
which is exactly where I'm going with this because Home Depot and Lowe's or both. I can't remember. I think both of them have it. Home Depot definitely does because I showed it in the video. They sell these bulbs that are big like that, like the one you showed. So it's a very large bulb, still screws into a regular outlet, but it's a big bulb and it's LED.
Oh,
And it's cheaper than those. I can get one whenever I want and they last forever. And you probably have to hit them with a hammer to break them. So
yeah,
they are
yeah.
fantastic. Absolutely love them. And like I said, you can just walk over and get one anytime you need one. So it's not like the old days. The old days we used to use those little xenon style bulbs, and you had to order those special because they were and they were very expensive. So these are fantastic. The fact that you can go there, but again, lighting big part of this. So if you can get a couple of those soft boxes, they'll typically come with incandescent bulbs. You can use those. I'd replace them. They don't come with the best bulbs usually. They come with cheapy bulbs, but you can still do good with them.
Yeah,
Uh,
I had pretty good luck with these curlicues, and when I said I just put a ring light on it, that was a joke. I just shoot two of those curlicues across it, and it's okay. I mean, it's okay.
and by the way, I've done that with the ring light too. I've got a big ring light right here that we use for when we're doing these types of things. But I've used that as my fill and key light before, and then
Oh,
just two for the background. You're
okay.
going to get fairly even lighting on the person, which is okay. It's not a bad thing, unless you're really looking for that dramatic effect. It is better if you've got one side of the face that's slightly brighter than the other one and a little harsher, but if you can't, you can't. And if you can use a ring light and two background lights for the green screen, you're going to do okay. It's going to be useful. And those ring lights, I mean, I got that on Amazon. I don't even know how long ago, and it was very cheap. I can't
Yeah,
even remember. I
yeah.
think I might have got it for like $70 or something like that.
Yeah,
So
and that's the thing, when I first started doing green screening to get the all the lights I really needed, it was just more than I wanted to spend, and that's why I
yeah,
got one of those. Here I'm talking, so you'll see it. This is why I got one of these, or a bunch of these. I've got a whole bunch
yep.
of them.
No, they're fantastic. I've still got them here. I just don't use them anymore because they're
Well,
they're
but the kind of lights you're talking about, they keep getting cheaper and cheaper all the time. The big soft boxes and stuff like that. So
Yep. Like I said, and especially we're getting close to the holiday season. Getting to the holiday season, you're going to find nice sets on there. They're going to be massively on sale. They drop all the time at Christmas time because I think one of the light sets that I bought, I wasn't even going to buy. I bought just because, oh my gosh, I can get that for $80 instead of 150. And so I
right.
bought an extra set of lights. I've got more stands and lights than, you could possibly ever need.
I can
But
only imagine. I can only imagine. Well, you've
no,
been a videographer for 30 years or something like that, haven't you? So, I
something like
mean,
that.
yeah,
Yep.
probably about right because you were, a kid when you started. So,
I
yeah.
was. And Andrew, if you're on here, yep, he was the one who got me started in this stuff. So he might be on here right now. The guy that I started with doing video, I'm working with again right now on multiple projects. So after 30 years, we still work together on all these projects. So
Wow, that's impressive.
crazy. We started doing weddings. He used to do tons of weddings. I used to shoot weddings every weekend. Fortunately, we don't. And I say that knowing that I've got to go shoot a friend's wedding on Saturday.
Well, that's pretty impressive. My daughter in college did wedding photography and video just to
Yeah.
make extra money. And when college was over, she was like, "Yeah, I think I'm kind of
Never
done."
again.
Yeah,
Well, it's a lot of pressure. You can't redo it. It's a lot
right.
of pressure. So you gotta get in there and you gotta do it. You gotta get it done right the first time. And back in the old
Especially,
days, that wasn't always so easy to do.
yeah, especially if you were that's exactly right. Especially if you were the lead guy. Kim, my daughter, was just doing what she was told. She worked for somebody, and she said, "Man, I don't ever want to own a company like that." She said, "I can't believe what kind of pressure she was under."
It's a ton of pressure and it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
And the photography, people think, oh, well, we went to digital. That makes it a lot easier. Oh, no, it does not.
no,
The when people switch to digital, again, now we're getting off track here, but when people
Yeah,
switched from
yeah.
from standard photos on film to digital, it was a ton more work now, because before they would just shoot it on film, they'd send it to a lab, the lab would send them back finished product. You didn't have to do anything, just had development, there it goes, put it in a book, here you go. Now they've got to go through all the images themselves, they've got to do all the work on it, color correction, all that stuff they got to do themselves. So they go from, I knew photographers, they worked, the weekends, they'd work a wedding Saturday, a wedding Sunday, and they'd be off all week. Now they're
Yeah,
putting
right.
together images all week long. So
Yeah, yeah.
there you go. All
Yeah,
right.
that was the other thing she liked about working for somebody. She could work Friday and
Mhm.
Saturday night, and that's all she had to do. And
Yep.
I forget the gal's name, but
You
she
get paid
took
well
it from
too.
there.
But yeah,
What's
you
that?
can get paid pretty good. You can get paid pretty good doing it. But
Yeah, I mean Kim was just an independent contractor, and I remember she made pretty good scratch.
but you know what they don't do in those wedding videos?
What?
Green screen, which is what we were talking about originally. Welcome back, everybody. So green screen, yes. Other thing you need to think about is, of course, microphones. There's a lot of different options. You can always use a lapel microphone. You can use some of those great Movo microphones. Here's another plug for Movo. But also you can use a nice shotgun mic. And that's what we use a lot of times when we're shooting with the green screen is I've got a boom and I put, a microphone on the boom and just keep it out of the shot and do it that way. Because quite honestly, as much as I love lapel microphones, they do a great job. The boom microphones, they just pick up better audio. They're just clean, not cleaner. I shouldn't say cleaner, because the lapel microphones are very clean, flat audio, but those boom microphones, they'll be a little more bassy. They give you a nice sound. Just being a bigger microphone with the bass roll off and all, don't want to get too technical, but any type of microphone will work. Recommend not using the one on the camera because it's not going to sound great. Although we have discovered very well that inside these programs now, you can take audio that's just shot on your smartphone and make it sound a lot better than it did originally with just the click of a button, because this software is so great. And speaking of that, that's the next thing we do have to talk about is the software, because you're going to need software in order to do the green screening. And what software do you need? Well, quite honestly, almost anything these days. There's so many different pieces of software that do green screening, everything from, Zoom does it built in to an extent, and, FaceTime does it, but you're going to be getting into some of the editing with, if you're using Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere or HitFilm or DaVinci, all those high-end ones, they're going to have some great green screening tools for you. HitFilm, they've got an okay green screening tool built in. You may have to buy their upgraded green screen tool to do that. HitFilm is a fantastic software that is 100% free, but it gives you limited tools. So you may have to upgrade to the green screen tool on that. CapCut also does green screen. If you got software like ScreenFlow or Camtasia, those have green screen built into them. So you can do it in a variety of these different softwares that you may have. And again, CapCut, DaVinci, HitFilm, all free. You can download those completely free and do some really cool stuff with them. Yes, they all do have plugin upgrades and things like that, but you can do this work inside those for free. I personally use Final Cut Pro, but you could use any of these tools. And like I said, these days, even if your green screen isn't fantastic, I mean, if you look at if you're watching this as opposed to listening, Steve is on Zoom, and as am I, but he's using a background filter that's cutting him out without a green screen at all.
Yeah.
So these softwares can actually cut people out fairly well, even when there's no green screen involved. So imagine how well they can do it nowadays when there is a green screen, and they can do it so much easier. So test any of the softwares out. Once you get it in there, if you've got it lit well, you drop the green screen in there, you may not have to do anything. However, if it looks a little, the edges are a little weird or anything like that, you got to play with the software a little bit. There's a lot of tools that are built in that you can do to, slide things and fix the matte and change the colors that you're pulling in, whatnot. So just go to YouTube. You'll learn all about how to do that. It is so easy these days compared to back in my day.
Oh.
In fact, Steve, I actually had a camera at one point in time. It was a super VHS camera. We had two of them actually.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of Andrew, who I talked about earlier, he gave me these cameras.
Wow.
He wasn't using them anymore. He gave me these cameras, and what they had was it was a big your camera with the lens on the front,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's super VHS. And in fact, it might not have even been super VHS, it might have been standard VHS for all I know, but I think it was super VHS. But on the top of it, it had a second camera, and that camera would swivel around. And so what you could do was you would put someone on a green screen and shoot them with the camera. And that little camera, you'd point it at a background, and in the camera, it would automatically green screen you out and put that background from the other camera behind you.
Wow.
And it did a surprisingly decent job. It was pretty cool if it was lit properly. And believe me, you had to really light things properly back then. And, it would do a really cool job. It was one of the coolest little things. I'd never seen a camera like that before. Didn't even know they existed, but very cool stuff. Problem is, we then stepped into the digital era. And when we jumped into the digital era, we used DV, digital video, which were the mini DVs with those little digital tapes, and the DV was the bigger ones. Those were horrible for green screen. Reason being is you were taking away, they're compressing all that data down to fit onto these tapes, and then you're stealing data out of there for the green, and the green screens looked awful. They were terrible, terrible. It's like watching, the news back in like the late 70s, early 80s when they first started to use green screen in the news, and the camera and the weatherman didn't really look like he was on the map, and he had the fringe around him and kind of looked like that. It was pretty bad. Once we moved to the HD stuff, it got a lot better, and there were options to do that, but yeah, you could light your set all day long, and you still weren't going to get a good green screen out of that. So I'm glad we're into the future now, where literally you could use your phone, and I do it all the time, and do amazing green screen videos just using your phone. So don't get caught up in the camera stuff. We used to have to, when I tell you there was a lot of work, when we used to light green screens back in the old days, not only do we have to have a giant camera that we had to calibrate perfectly, we actually had to use meters. Like, we actually had waveform monitors. They looked like little TVs that showed waveforms, and we had to shoot just the green screen, light the green screen, and make sure that the waveform monitor said it was absolutely perfect. Then bring the person in, light them up, make sure that the waveform was perfect for them in order to even be able to do green screening. So the fact that you could take your iPhone out, shoot it at somebody on a green screen, and click one button and have a green screen, it is amazing stuff. And of course, it's something that allows you to do some really, really cool things. So if you are doing any kind of video, learning to do green screen, think about all the amazing things you can do. Whether it's a business related thing or something for fun, you can do some crazy stuff. At the escape room, we have to do videos quite often for the escape room. We do them on green screen. There's one that we did for, it was for the one in California. It was the Stark Labs, and it was based off of an Iron Man theme. And I had to dress up in a lab coat and put funny glasses on, and I did it in front of a green screen, and it looked like I was in this lab with all this technical equipment and everything, and it looked amazing. If I do say so myself.
Looked amazing, except for you. Yeah.
Except for the actor. Other than that, it looked, nah, I looked, that's how good it was. I even looked good. No, it was fantastic. And we have to do that all the time, and you can get some really, really good stuff with that. For those of you watching that are marketing specialists, you're going to run into a lot of businesses that you're going to want to do videos for, and you're going to show up at their place, and they're a plumber, and they're like, all right, let's shoot a video. And the only thing they have is basically a garage with, all sorts of equipment thrown everywhere, and the pizza box from last night on the ground, and garage doors in the background. You're not going to be able to shoot a really good video there. But if you could bring a green screen with you, with a green screen up, shoot them at their place like that, now you can get a really nice video. We used to do that with a lot of the companies that we work with. They'd come to our suite, and we would do a green screen video right there. And we would just put a nice background behind them. And the backgrounds can be anything. It doesn't have to be a location. Like, sometimes the background that we would put them on would just be like a patterned background. Almost like the kind of backgrounds they would put up at a sporting event to interview people, except it was, an image, a digital image, instead of an actual stand-up background. So you can do that kind of stuff, and you can make some really good videos with that. We had a guy who was a chiropractor, and we shot him in, I mean, we must have shot 200 videos with this guy. And that's what we did with all of them is we put him on the green screen. We just put a nice background behind him to make all those videos. And the great thing is, if you're a marketer, you can charge more for this. You're using higher end technology. Don't be afraid to charge more. If you're going out to, oh, I'm going to go out and shoot videos for this guy for $1,000. I want to do green screen, 1,500 now, and bump it up because it is more work. You're going to have to spend more time setting it up, more time lighting it, more time editing it. So be sure to charge for that. So it's an opportunity to look like a superstar when you're doing it. And it's also an opportunity to charge more money. Like I said, we use green screen for a lot of the stuff we do. And, we were just shooting some last weekend, that video that I put on YouTube that showed our setup in the little office up front here. We were doing some green screen videos for marketing stuff. We were making a whole bunch of intros and outros for some marketing videos that we were doing. And we shot probably, 50 intros and outros to just have them ready to go so that we can make all the videos. So it can be very, very effective. And what about you, Steve? What do you think? When would you use the green screens?
I have so many of the interviews that I do are on Zoom because I work with attorneys
Sure.
all over the country. And these attorneys have decent backgrounds in their offices. I mean, they've got nice offices with, lots of books and a desk and all that kind of stuff.
By the way, we used to fake that a lot for attorneys too.
Oh, sure, sure. But, I mean, before Zoom, you would never, before COVID, and when all the courts went on Zoom because of COVID, because you couldn't be in court, but you could bring in all the defendants and all the attorneys across
Right.
Zoom, you probably wouldn't propose interviewing an attorney via Zoom. You just wouldn't do it. Now they're used to it. They accept it. They're fine with it. And it looks okay, so just because of my niche, sort of my need for green screening has gone away. I just, occasionally I will go out and interview somebody on location, but he just happens to have a really nice office, so I don't need it.
I used to do a lot of.
Not the answer you wanted to hear.
No, that's fine. I'll tell you, when we used to have the office down in Snellville, we had the green screen wall, and that room was huge. So the lights were always there. They were always set up. If I wanted to do a green screen video, it was just, turn on the camera, let's go.
Yeah.
And so we did a lot of fun stuff there that we just don't do anymore. Like I used to, even for product reviews, I dressed up as a pirate in one, and I put myself on a pirate ship. We did one where I was, on the Starship Enterprise and all sorts of cool stuff. And it's just a matter of, finding uses for it because you can do so many cool things with it, even if it's just for fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you still do a lot of green screening, even though you don't have quite the facility you had in Snellville?
Yeah, we just set it up and go. In fact, in this office here, we were taking everything down so we could turn it into another escape room in this particular room. But before we started to do that, I had the green screen here up all the time in here too.
Oh, you did. Okay.
So I would jump on there and
don't
do
you
that.
have one out in one lobby that you could pull down, like one of those school?
No, I've got the one that pulls up, but I have to bring it out there every time we use it.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Okay.
And it's easier to do out in that lobby because there is more room. In here, it's very tight. Like if we want to do it in this office here, we got the green screen there. Like you can't even like stand behind the camera and frame the shot because the camera's like up against the wall just to have enough room to shoot it. So it's pretty tight.
Right.
You can barely fit the lights in here, right? Although one thing I did do, and this is something to think about too, and for those of you that are thinking about doing this and you want lights, one of the things that we bought was because we've got the drop ceiling in these offices, which most offices are going to have.
Right.
We got these things. They're little studs that come down and they scissor and they lock onto the braces. And the lights will mount to that. So you can
cool.
actually hang lights from the ceiling. And that's what I did is I had my big box lights in here hanging from the ceiling. And then that way they were out of the way. So that was very, very useful.
Well, I'm looking in my office here and I got a couple sets of lights and I got the green screen in the closet. So if I ever needed to do it, I got it,
There you go. And
there we go.
You can do some really cool stuff with it and have some fun. I remember I did the the thing where I mimicked the intro to the Bob Ross painting show
Yeah.
for one of the products because it was
Yeah,
called
that was great.
Create. And I mimicked exactly what he did. I even made I wish I could find it. I was trying to find it. I couldn't find it the other day where I showed the side by side of the original and me mimicking it. Oh, it was pretty funny. I got a kick out of that because it came out just like his, where he came and because he did a green screen thing in his video. So I did the same green screen thing. He took a broom and he wiped away his background on the green
Yeah,
screen.
yeah, yeah.
His looked cheesy. I made mine look cheesy. I kind of
Oh, yeah,
matched.
yeah. He was the king of cheese.
Yep.
Okay, my friend, who made this fine episode of Video Marketing
Well,
Madness
I'll tell you who
possible?
made it possible. Our good friends over at Movo. Now, some of the things we talked about today, Movo will be able to provide for you, including your microphones, some of your lights you can get at Movo, which we use on some of our green screening stuff. We definitely use the microphones, and you can get all sorts of other things. Stands to hold your smartphone. So if you want to shoot with your smartphone, you can get that there. They got all sorts of vlogging kits where you get microphones and stands and everything in one package. And you can check it all out by heading on over to raysuggests.com/Movo and picking up your awesome products today.
Very good.
Indeed.
And with that,
And with that, let's hit the music and get out of here.
okay, so if you're watching the live stream, thank